Madam Deputy Speaker, thank you very much for this opportunity to introduce this debate on reforming G20 membership. Of course, the last debate of this week and indeed before the conference recess. Madam Deputy Speaker, unlike the G8, which broadly consists of the world's largest economies, the G20, which was proposed by former Canadian Prime Minister Paul Martin, is a forum for cooperation and consultation on matters concerning the international financial system and was formally inaugurated in 1999. It studies, reviews and promotes high-level discussion on policy issues pertaining to the promotion of international financial stability and seeks to address issues that go beyond the responsibilities of any one organisation. Madam Deputy Speaker, in the debate this afternoon, I want to focus on questioning Argentina's status as a G20 member on the basis that it has failed on all three of the organisation's primary objectives, namely restoring global financial growth, strengthening the international financial system and reforming international financial institutions. With non-members, including countries like Malaysia, Norway, Singapore and Switzerland, contributing far more to our global economic well-being, one has to question the benefit of Argentina's presence in the G20. When Argentina appears in British public discourse, it is normally in relation to one of the two Fs, football and the Falklands. The behaviour, however, of President Cristina Kirchner's regime towards the islanders is nothing short of disgraceful. And it is extremely encouraging to see that the British government supporting the islanders in the strongest possible terms. The Falklands, for obvious reasons, are top of our agenda when it comes to discussion of Argentina. But this issue should not blind us from the other major problems affecting this country as a result of Kirchner's belligerence. Madam Deputy Speaker, she makes no secret of her refusal to play by the same rules as everybody else. And let me start with a few examples. Argentina has expropriated the property of European companies, provides a safe haven for drug dealers bringing methamphetamine to Europe, is developing a strategic relationship with Iran, it deliberately falsifies its economic statistics, it refuses to abide by international court judgments, and refuses to pay its debts to other nations and institutions, and even refuses to honour the most basic laws of contracts. A major increase in concern is that of drug trafficking. A recent research paper from the International Assessment and Strategy Centre found that Argentina currently imports 30 times more ephedrine than is needed for legitimate pharmaceutical industrial use. Ephedrine is a key ingredient in the production of methamphetamine, commonly known as crystal meth, which is a brutal and destructive addictive drug that ruins many lives on the streets of Europe and North America. This is not all. Argentina is now estimated to supply 70 tonnes of cocaine into Europe, which represents a third of the entire usage by volume. Madam Deputy Speaker, equally worrying is Argentina's growing friendship with Iran, a country that is a major strategic threat to the interests of the UK and the West more widely. The Argentine government's blossoming relationship with Iran has been highlighted in the US Congress and was evidenced recently when President Kirchner refused to allow a senior Argentine investigator to travel to Washington to testify before Congress on Iran's role in the 1994 Buenos Aires bombing of the Argentine-Israelite Mutual Association, presumably for fear of what that expert might reveal. Argentina's refusal to repay its debt obligations, even though it has billions of dollars in reserves, sets a terrible precedent for other nations, such as Greece, which may be tempted to follow this path of irresponsibility. Courts have previously ruled that the Argentine government needs to pay all of its creditors, which is exactly this kind of sound legal principle that we in the developed world should uphold and support, even if the Kirchner administration has chosen not to do so. Madam Deputy Speaker, on every conceivable level, the Kirchner's actions are endangering the interests of Great Britain. So what can we do? Following a public campaign in which I was involved, our International Development Secretary, my right honourable friend, the member for Putney, took the important step earlier this year of stating that the UK will vote against future loans to Argentina from international institutions such as the World Bank and Inter-American Development Bank. US President Obama's administration is also voting against new loans. No more should Kirchner's government be allowed to threaten and denounce the international community on one day and then effectively cash our cheques on the next. There is more we need to do. Other European nations must be encouraged to join the US and the UK. And it is simply unacceptable that a country that is a member of the G20, one of the most important and prestigious international bodies, should behave in this manner. I believe that Argentina's membership of the G20 should be revoked. The country has been named and shamed by Transparency International as one of the worst in Latin America for corruption, even outstripping Venezuela, and the International Monetary Fund has starkly stated that Argentina's government is lying about its economy and cannot be trusted. Madam Deputy Speaker, we cannot and should not allow Christina Kirchner to be rewarded with a welcome at the world's top table. Argentina is an international outlier. No other country, including in Europe, is behaving so irresponsibly in relation to its debts. No other country is in receipt of an IMF censure for falsifying inflation figures. We should stand up for the rule of law, sanctity of contract, and respect for international legal and financial obligations. We should not stand with those who refuse to abide by court judgments and who steal private property. We certainly should not stand with those who ally themselves with drug traffickers and Iranian extremist groups. Madam Deputy Speaker, we stood firm on the Falkland Islands, and we now have a strong stance on international loans. It is time, too, to take a tough position on Argentina's membership of the G20, and I believe this is ever more pertinent following the meeting of the grouping in St. Petersburg, Russia, just last week.